Hello everybody, my name is Kieran McLeod. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. I used to work for a company, Telus International, here in town. They do customer service contracts around the world, and I was hired on for one particular company to do customer service, and then in June of last year I was promoted to team lead for the ByteDance campaign, who owns TikTok, or owned at the time. I don't know if that's changed. So we did content moderation for TikTok, and the job started out interesting. I had 15 to 25 content moderators under me at any time. I worked the early morning shift, 2 to 3 a.m. start. I started at 3 a.m. with noon finish, and then they dropped me to 2 a.m. with 11 a.m. finish. I still didn't finish till noon, though. So 10-hour days, 50-hour work weeks, at least. After we got out of our initial training, there were a couple of things that we had monitored, like conspiracy theory, which is 9/11's an inside job, and blah, blah, blah. After about a month and a half, they added misinformation and disinformation tags. So this isn't about July, August area. Misinformation, disinformation, and the conspiracy tag itself. Basically, they were targeting Alex Jones for conspiracy. Anybody saying that 9/11 was an inside job, JFK assassination, stuff like that, the standard. Sometimes they censored other stuff and didn't. I don't know, it was weird, but the misinformation and disinformation tags were the ones that were the most confusing, especially for my moderators. And I want to make something really clear right now. The way that TikTok particularly worked, maybe not necessarily Facebook or the other big companies, but TikTok would hire outside staffing. So we had people who were making about $15 an hour, either fresh out of high school or having just lost their job due to the COVID scam. And it's people who are pretty much in dire straits and thankful to even have a job to begin with. And they're great people. They just want to do the right thing. It's not the moderators that do it. They're just trying to keep their job. And I only did what I was told. Most of the people don't know any better, and you don't understand until you're knuckle deep in it, wrist deep in it, shoulder deep into it, the stuff that you see. A lot of the stuff gets filtered out before it even hits the public. This is stuff I'll get into. So they get relatively low-income individuals who are pretty much in dire straits to moderate this content, because you're going to get forced into a situation where you either do what they tell you or you lose your job. Pretty effective. And my moderators were always confused with the misinformation, disinformation tags, because it's hard to tell the difference between the two, for one. But also when you're watching these videos, there's very convincing evidence to question narratives of any type. And our general rule of thumb was, if the media says something, that means it's true. Like, if the mainstream media says something, that's the truth. So, over the months, I had raised my concerns numerous times over specifically the misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy tags. And a number of my managers agreed with my concerns, but they just, gave the standard, this is what the client wants. And it always kind of struck me raw. And, I've always heard of Section 230. It says these companies have legal protections, which I knew that's what they were operating under, but from my understanding, Section 230 required them to act as a neutral publisher, basically. Or to not act as a publisher, but to act as a neutral platform. In that, they're keeping violence and pornography and stuff away if it's not age appropriate, stuff like that. But I'll circle back to Section 230 at the end. But it always rubbed me raw that they were doing the silencing and moderation the way they were doing. So I raised my concerns over the months, showing examples numerous times of, this user is a pretty convincing video. I think we should pay attention to this kind of stuff, and we were censoring anything about COVID that wasn't along the narrative, anything that was damaging to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. We silenced stuff regarding Michelle Obama. It was really particularly weird. They had this weird stance where they would protect kids, kind of. Like they tried. They tried to protect kids on the face of it. But then there was one particular user, I remember watching his videos, and he was doing To Catch a Predator style interactions with pedophiles, where he would catch them saying things online, and he would confront them and record it. We were instructed to treat that as sharing of personal information, which basically memory holds it like anything else. It's not that it's not on the platform. You can still find it, but it's there somewhere, You got to know where it is, basically. So I raised my concerns of this, hey, this guy is catching people. This is basically investigative journalism. Why, I understand we're having this guy show the information and say the names of these individuals, but they're attempting to commit crimes, against children, against young children and teenagers. So I sent an email out and asked if we were in the business of protecting pedophiles and stuff, and never heard anything back. So over the months this ramped up, and when Wayfarer came out, we treated Wayfarer as a dangerous trend. Something like the Cinnamon Challenge or the Tide Pod consumption crap. They thought that the possibility of children being sold on the internet under the guise of furniture and other goods was a dangerous trend, that people were talking about that. So, of course, I voiced concerns over this. My direct manager agreed, as she was a wonderful individual. but ultimately it was the same line. This is what the client wants. So as the months progressed and we got to October, I was getting ready to get married in the early to mid part of October. And, stuff about pedophiles was really starting to ramp up. It was really starting to get to me. And we were doing a retraining, revamping the whole way. So I forgot to mention, we had a playbook and a daily required read. Have give instructions of what we were supposed to do in moderation tasks. So the daily required read updates were pretty much every day. The playbook was not. They said the playbook was a living document essentially, but it was supplemented with the daily required read. So the DRR would just have things like, oh, hey, Hunter Biden's laptop came out this week, let's silence that. Oh, hey, people talking about George Floyd and blah, let's silence that. They allowed violence to be shown when it was against the police. They allowed violence to be shown when it was Black Lives Matter activists and Antifa activists and stuff like that who were hurting cops. I had a video where a police officer was attempting to enter his vehicle and a large trash can lid, circular trash can lid that has like a dip in it so that it goes down into the actual waste bin. It was thrown like a frisbee, and this is probably 15, 20, 25 pounds worth of metal. Just chucked at this officer. I mean, I guess it's probably sheet metal, so that's probably a good 10 pounds. 10, 15 pounds. Chucked at this officer. Hits him in the back of the neck and he goes down. And I had to okay that video. But any video that questions an official narrative or shows people talking to child sex trafficking victims, we have to silence that. So, before we get to October, it was in September, I think, there was a gentleman, Ronnie McNutt, who killed himself. I woke up at 1:45, 1:30 in the morning. Actually, I was up earlier than that. I was up, this is September, so I was up around midnight or so, because I would walk my dogs before work. So I was up at midnight, and I get on, I think it was a little bit around 1 or so. And we get this video where, this young man had shot himself, committed suicide on camera. And we were having people posting it to TikTok, so we had to obviously filter it out. The AI was having a little bit of difficulty because the video was being, stitched in. Scenes would be stitched into another video, and it would show the graphic depiction of his head being blown to smithereens. So, me being a veteran, I have lived by the principle that you can't make somebody do something unless you're willing to do it yourself. So knowing my moderators would have to watch this video, I watched it myself, and it was a graphic video. Certainly not something I would have to watch at 1 or 2 in the morning as I'm starting my day. Throughout that day, Throughout that day, I'd seen this man die 4 or 5 times because I would tell my moderators, when you load up a video, if you have a feeling that it's that video, if it starts to show that, send it to me. I will watch it. I will tell you if it actually depicts the death. So I watched this man die 4 or 5 times that day. And long story short, the company put out a statement this is ByteDance put out a statement on how we would moderate. And the way they phrased it was, in regards to the video of a man with a beard committing suicide. And my response, albeit I had just been woken up due to this being in the afternoon and I was trying to sleep. Woken up by other disturbing videos sent to me by my team members. I just said, hey, he does have a name, not just man with a beard. But thanks for the update, because it would have taken us all day to get an update on officially what we're supposed to do with these videos. From my understanding of the way my supervisor at the time explained it, TikTok wanted to fire me. TikTok wanted ByteDance wanted TELUS to fire me right there. Because I dared to give respect to a man who had a name. Probably killed himself because he didn't think people cared about his name. So fast forward into October, we're doing retraining. Get into November and I get into my retraining where I'm forced to watch a video of a young lady get shot in the back of the head with a shotgun and die, obviously, execution style. Where I'm forced to watch a man have intercourse with a chicken. Where I'm forced to just watch videos that I would never want to watch. Which, understandable, it's part of the job. This was in November, right after the election. And as the election's going on, people putting out videos that are showing very interesting information and scenarios going on. And now that we see what's going on with Maricopa, there's certainly some validity to a lot of the videos. Not that there wasn't to begin with, but we can see it now. So, I raise my concerns. I'm told, keep quiet. We have added information of silencing anybody that's an oath keeper, anybody that's a 3%er, anybody that's a Proud Boy, anybody that's talking about election interference, anybody that's saying that the election was rigged, anybody talking about QAnon, any of that stuff. They rolled the misinformation and disinformation tags together in this retraining and policy revamp, and they redid the kids protection stuff, so it was a little bit more robust. But I kept raising concerns. And again, I'm operating under the idea that Section 230, they have these legal liability waivers in that they don't act as a publisher. So fast forward a couple weeks, and I've had some interesting interactions with my team members, and I love my team members dearly. They were great. It was just it was just a different interaction with trying to help people to understand what we were seeing. And I always brought this up as a concern. We were in a world where it's the media versus the current president of the United States. How do you tell the truth? Who's telling the truth? And it was very confusing for my moderators. And I'm a very frank person. I've offended many people not intending to, and I'll probably do it the rest of my life not intending to, but I try to show my team members the stuff that we were seeing and the validity in it. And regardless of how true it is, we have to go by what we're told to moderate. And so I had a particular instance where I had said to my team, in regards to these stimulus checks, it's a bit ridiculous that we are going through a sham, a scam, a hoax, and we're going to foot the bill on future generations, And, I offended a team member, but we worked it out, Long story short, I had, at least on my history, a strike from back in early July, August. We were in a large team meeting with many of the leadership staff, and we were talking about going to work on site and remember social distancing, and I just flippantly said social distancing is bullshit. Got a hint for that. They tried to give me a hint for the thing I said about Mr. Ronnie McNutt. That wasn't anything. So I had one hint on there. I had another issue, like I said, with a team member that was resolved, so no hint there. And so on January 19th, I was presented with a video from my team member. Well, let's rewind to January 6th. So the protest happened on January 6th. And obviously that was turned into whatever sham of a show it was turned into. And, I'd seen plenty of evidence showing that it was a false flag operation, that people were there under pretense of being Trump supporters when they weren't. That simple. And this footage we were supposed to hide and keep quiet. And it was tough. It was really tough. It made it really, really tough. And one thing I forgot to mention at the start of this, the way that the system works for TikTok, the way that it was explained to me, is that the computer brings up the video and says, hey, I'm going to watch this and see if there's anything wrong with it. And then the video will be presented to the first line of moderation. They'll take a look at it. And there'll be specific frames that they look at. And if anything pops up in the frames, they have to watch the video. So then, if it passes that, that's just a cursory glance for looking for nipples and dicks and butts and all that stuff, and blood, gore, all that. Then there's a second round of moderation where the actual content of the video is moderated. Now, this is done by, again, the AI first, then 2 moderators, and possibly a QA. So you have the AI, the first round, possibly. Then you have 2 more moderators. So anywhere from, and then the QA. So anywhere from 1, the AI, to possibly just the 2 moderators in the second round, or even all 4, and then QA, if there's a discrepancy between any of them. This information is being used to teach the AI. And I'll circle back to that. So we're teaching the AI how to hide these videos. So the more videos that we hide, the easier it is for the AI to do. So back to January 6th. We're seeing this unfold. I'm seeing all this footage come in, and we're silencing it all. And so January 19th, I'm presented with a video that shows an article, I believe it was from New York Post, New York Times, something like that, that said, hey, you know, these people in the Capitol weren't Trump supporters, essentially. So I presented this to my manager, and I said, well, okay. A couple days prior, I had said to my manager, so this is the 4th manager that I've addressed this to. Well, 3rd manager, and then the 4th being QA lead, the quality assurance lead, CEA. So this is the 4th time I had addressed to management. I said, hey, you know, I kind of identify with the 3 percenters. I don't know why we're silencing them. That's kind of messed up. It's kind of discriminatory. Oh, we'll just do what we're supposed to. So after me addressing this with my newest supervisor, my newest manager, and him notably not caring about any of that, I said, okay, fine. With this video, I'm going to show it to a slightly wider audience. So we had team chats in Google Chats under my manager, and it had a handful of team leaders, so we could disseminate information and have meetings and stuff. So I sent to this team chat, which is about 6, 7, 8 other team leaders of my, equal level as me. Like, hey, this is a perfect example of where we're being shown something from a mainstream media source that you guys tell us is the truth to go by, and it's counter to the narrative that you're telling us to silence. So which is it? Which one do we silence it? Do we not? And I was like, oh, well, we silence that, and because this is a company, it's their choice, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, this is a violation of Section 230. And immediately my manager said, this conversation is done. So two days later, on the 21st, I had my weekly coaching with my manager. And he reprimands me for, bringing up that topic. And I said, I've been censored before. I've been censored on YouTube. When the shooting happened out here in Las Vegas, I made a video that questioned what the hell was going on. Had 4,000 views in 3 days. And then they started talking about fake news. Google changed the algorithm. My video didn't get a single view after that. I don't care. If my video had traction, it just shows that I've been censored, so I know I'm a victim of this. I'm also, like I said, a veteran. So I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend with my life your right to say it. So I stand up for myself and I say, I don't agree with this, and our boss should not be, your boss should not be allowing our client to force our team members and team leaders to violate Section 230 like this. Again, operating under the assumption and information being told to me this whole time that they can't act as publishers under Section 230. The meeting ends. I go out with my father, who was staying with me at the time, for a couple months after I got married. And we went out, ran some errands, and I came back, and I get a phone call like, hey, can you hop online for a meeting, manager's meeting? Sure, not a problem. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get on, and it's just myself, my manager, and his boss. And his boss says, we're exercising our right to terminate you for disrespect in the workplace. And I asked him to elaborate, and he refused. He told me to contact HR. I persisted. He refused again. So I just left the chat. I didn't get any records of anything. I should have. I should have gotten pictures of all the chats. I should have gotten pictures of all of the documentation. Got some physical proof of their DRR updates and chats that I've had with personal individuals, but nothing smoking gun evidence, I guess. All I have is my word. So I then reached out to a lawyer that week. She recommended that I contact them and request that they give me my employee records. So I asked for my employee records. I contacted HR. I called the office here in Vegas. I got the distribution email for their HR department, which didn't work. Called back, got a specific individual who I've worked with in the past, interacted with in the past. Sent her an email 3 times over a month requesting for this information and never got it back. I spent the next 2 months trying to track down a lawyer who would help me. I finally get a law group who they declined to take my case, but they instructed me to seek out the state bar. So I did that, and I finally spoke to an attorney who said, one, they're not the government, so freedom of speech doesn't matter. And 2, here's the most important part, is Section 230 doesn't have any responsibilities on it. So the tech companies have legal immunity with no responsibility to conduct themselves in any way, shape, or form that's fair or balanced or honest. And they've slowly increased their censorship over time. And it's just ramped up to a fever pitch at this point, to where it's detrimental to human life. You can't have lies spread this openly and not have it affect human consciousness as a whole. So I guess this video is extremely long-winded, but I have to get my story out there. I've reached out to the Department of Justice, reached out to the Gateway Pundit, reached out to some YouTubers. I put my story on patriots.win. And since doing that is when I learned about Section 230. So I guess really the too long, didn't read, didn't listen, of this video is that in America, our government has set in place legal protections for companies that have vast social influence to be able to control a narrative with no responsibility to maintain that legal protection. So, like, you know, you make a deal with somebody, I'll let you use my car as long as you don't break it. You know, that's a responsibility. You have a responsibility to not break the car. So these big tech companies don't have any responsibility for that immunity. And so we have vaccine companies that have immunity from litigation. We have big tech companies that have immunity from litigation. America needs to wake up. Your government isn't there to help you. Your government isn't for you. Your government, as the word suggests from its root, gubermentat, it is for mind control. It is to control you. It is to change your perception of the world. It's to get you to agree to give the people who have the most power and the most influence in the world carte blanche immunity to do what they want. And the people who stand up for the truth and justice and righteousness, and those who are God-fearing individuals who can't stay silent in the face of evil, they're left hung out to dry. So after I lost my job, I have had to postpone having children with my wife, which has caused undue stress on my marriage. I no longer speak with my father due to his choice of interaction or lack thereof. Like I said, I can't find a lawyer to represent me. I seem to have no legal recourse. In the state of Nevada, they can fire for any reason unless you are being forced to do something illegal and you refuse, or you're a whistleblower. And a couple other things, but I just want people to know the danger of 230. If we're going to go and revamp our entire government and make it better for the people, we need to get rid of things like Section 230. We need to get rid of things like vaccine liability waivers for these companies. The government has to serve the people. The government doesn't have any right to be a corporate interest. They've been far too long. This video is getting far long-winded, more so than I expected. But I guess that's... Oh, I need to touch back on the AI. So when Trump was talking about banning TikTok in the US, what people don't realize, and this just came out about TikTok, is that they're storing all this facial recognition data, all this voice data, all this stuff. So you take the machine learning that we're doing, teaching AI what it's seeing, to how to recognize what it's seeing. You take the facial recognition data, you take the voice data, you take the fact that your camera's running constantly, your microphone is running constantly, your GPS is running constantly. And you take the fact that this is a company connected to the CCP. every company in China is connected to the CCP. So Americans have been freely giving away their own personal information, most personal details, videos of themselves, and having us as moderators go through and tell the computer what it's seeing. If I really have to go into the details of how dangerous it is to have AI learn and understand what it's seeing when it has full, omnipresent, surveillance capabilities, if I have to go and explain that, then maybe the world's far too gone. But I think that's what it had to do with. I think Trump was talking about banning TikTok because it is a weapon. It's a surveillance tool. It's a surveillance tool, and it's a propaganda mechanism. It's a way to shape the public narrative. And I think considering Wayfair, considering COVID, considering the election, all of these things that it seems like the CCP has direct hands in, or at least so we're told, or so we're finding out. That means that they not only committed the crime, but they controlled the voice of the public being able to talk about that crime. And that includes covering up of crimes against humanity. So that makes TikTok, ByteDance, and the CCP not only directly responsible for crimes against humanity, but also for covering up the knowledge of the crimes against humanity, for the violation of human rights on a massive worldwide scale. All four corners of the earth have been touched by this. So my plea to you is, if you use TikTok, stop. Use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, stop. These companies don't have your best interest at heart. They harvest your data. They use it to increase their technology capabilities. They silence their narrative so any of their crimes go unpunished and unknown. And for what? So you can dance, do some cooking videos. If you're trying to be an activist on another platform. If your friends say, oh, why aren't you on Instagram? I'm not on Instagram, I'm on Telegram, on Gab, whatever. Stop using these companies that are committing crimes against humanity. I don't regret what I've done as far as standing up for freedom of speech and truth. I just know I'll regret it if nobody knows about it, and if I don't share this message. So I pray that anybody who's watched this far and this long, that you do take the time to share. Let people know what happened, what happens on big tech's side, how they can do what they want to do, and we sit there getting a dog and pony show. If they can't do that, they can. You gave them the legal immunity. You gave them the legal immunity to do whatever they want with no responsibility. And all these politicians go out there lying. It is leading the American public on. If they talk about Section 230, they're not going to tell you how it doesn't force them to do anything. Just gives them blanket immunity. So I pray everybody has a better, happier, healthier life. I pray that truth comes out, that the goodness and kindness and love of the world shines, and blossoms. And peace, love, and happiness to everyone out there. God bless you all. Bye.